This video demonstrates how to put together our 3D round ornament gift box, which is a 3D SVG from Simply Crafty SVGs. So we'll show you how to put together this. This is a little bit different. It's an ornament box, gift box shaped like an ornament. So let me show you a finished one. So here we go. So it comes, so it's this big, about 5 inches by 5 inches about, and then it opens like that, and see there's these internal panels that you could add optionally, but I think they make it. So if this is a Christmas gift box, so this one's a little tighter than the final, but I want it to be tight so it goes together like that. And within the file there's also an optional panel, like just to show you, instead of using it as a box, you could just use it as a decoration and glue these pieces together, and I'll show you a little miniature version of that. Had fun making the little mini. So it's a fun little, but it's just a decoration. It's not a functional box when it's this size. So this is 60% of this size, the original size. So I want to make it big enough to make it obviously a gift box. So it's not really meant to hang or anything, but if you do it like this, you could hang it. So that's the example. So now I'm going to show you all the pieces. So you want to get them situated before you do anything. So here's the pieces for the hanger cap, the top piece. So I'm going to put that just to the right here. So for the bottom we have these pieces. So each of these are similar, but one has a B in it and one has a T. So let me put it not upside down. So B cut out, so that's for the bottom, and T. So I'm going to get all the bottom pieces. The ones, these pieces that have a little tab at the end with no tab on the side. So the top is like that. So I put the tabs to the left for the top. Or really, it's the right still because those are upside down. But there's 8 of each, so that's 8-sided. So you can see there's a tab. So you look for the tab at the bottom without a tab on the side, and those are the bottom pieces. So that's the bottom. And I've already pre-folded these, but they just fold. You might want to pre-fold them before you do anything. It just will save you time, and you can just put it together. So this goes with this. And then also, let's put this. There's 3 of these. Like one is slightly larger. It's for the inside. So there's one for the inside and outside. This is for the bottom. So, but there's a little mark. There's a little cut mark. Let's see if I can get that. See if you can see right there. I'm going to actually pen it on the side that we're going to glue on. So look for this, and this will be for the top. Okay. I just pinned the side that I'm going to put glue on. So that's just so you know which one's which. This is slightly bigger than the ones for the bottom. So this goes to the bottom. So this is the top. These pieces are for the bottom. It's a lip that you slide the lid around. And then these are the outside ones, outside panels. So you'll see the longer ones. There's 2 different sizes, and I embossed them already with this embossing folder, Holly Vines from Darice. So I thought it would give it a nice look. So this is the side I'm going to have up. So part of them, if I put them like this, you'll see the short ones are for the bottom and the long ones are for the top on the outside. We have inside ones too. I've already curled them inward, but those are rounded, so they have rounded edges, so that's for the inside. And that's optional. If you don't mind looking at all the tabs and you don't want to go that extra step, you don't have to do that. So that's for the inside. So those are all the pieces. So let's get started on something. So I'm going to put the top aside. Let me go ahead and finish folding this. And I cut my score lines, my solid score lines, so that's why it's so easy to fold. So yours might be a little bit harder than mine. Oh, I forgot that piece. That's for the top. To put the hanger on, it'll be at the top. So let's go ahead and move that to the side. Let's start with this hanger cap. So I'm just putting it together so it can get good and dry, and then we can move on to the bottom portion. So I know it kind of gives you a glare because it's metallic. I'm using a metallic paper with a craft paper background. I don't even know if it's sold anymore, but this is it. So the Tim Holtz Craft Core Metallic Collection. So I put the information in the product description, but I always make sure that it may or may not be. I've seen this sold similar and under different brand names, so I had that in my stock. So with this, we want to go ahead and just fold it. You want to make sure your fingertips are free of glue, but if you do, I always say have a little damp paper towel. I cut them into little pieces to help me wipe off, just because glue gets on metallics really easy. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to this tab. And you don't want to get, because if you're gluing on metallic, try not to get too close to that fold of the tab. And the reason is that it moves really easily and it'll show up. So, and you want to line it up, make sure it's lined up with the score lines there, and obviously the edge matches up with the tab fold. So you can see the glue's coming out. Just going to take this and just lightly get that excess glue off. So the reason I'm doing this first is just to let it dry. So now we're just going to add glue to these inside tabs. So make sure it's good and dry. I mean, mine, I know how long it takes the Bearly Art glue to dry. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting used to the glue that you use. So I'm adding glue to the tabs on the inside, and one of the reasons is because it's easier to glue craft paper than it is metal to metal. So we're going to fold those in, and that's okay. There's a little glue on that metallic. Going to flip it upside down, and we're going to slide this in. We want to make sure those edges line up with one of the edges. So we want it to be a true octagon. So you kind of have to, it should drop pretty well into place, but you may need to maneuver it. As you can see, just apply pressure in there. And I'm going to use this little, if you watch my videos, you know I like my wooden chopsticks to do some work. So, and I'm getting some glue on the inside. Who cares? Nobody's going to see it. But you want to make sure that's good and glued. So if you're doing like a double-sided metallic or something like that, you might have to apply pressure longer. So I'm just lightly placing that there. And here there's really no score marks on this because it's so thin. But we're just going to fold it once we get it glued. So we're just going to go ahead and glue it just on the little handle part, the little, what do you say, the hanger part. Just add glue on there. I wanted it to be as thin as possible, so I didn't really want to put a cut line, a fold line on this. So you want to line them up. Do not put glue, no glue right there. So we're lining them up. Just making sure that there's no, I want to make sure I glued it all the way to there. Because what I'm going to do is, and you could do this manually if this helps you, is to take a tool like this. You could just fold it right here to show you. Or you could just, I'm going to put little lines there so you know we're just going to fold it back. So I'm going to hold it in place and fold it back. It'll be easy to fold. So I just, to me this makes it easier, so this is just a little stylus. You may have it with another tool like that. But see how it's places apart like that? So this will go on the top. So we'll line it up on the top like that. So make sure that it's not coming apart if you need to add extra glue. There's a small gap, and that's okay. Pretty much not that noticeable. So be really careful when you place this. Just want to line it up. Oops. If you don't use a really metallic piece of, if you decide to do like a cardstock, this is not near as hard because we have to worry about the glue. So I'm just pushing it down right here. We don't want to be careful, so I'm going to put my fingers like that and just press down so I can get pressure all around the top. So even right there. If you need a little bit more, you can just squirt a little glue in there. Be really careful. So just work on it until it's down firmly, not coming up at all. And then it gives it time to, I got a little glue, it gives it time to dry. So I'm trying not to get any indentations, but I got a couple indentations. So I'm going to put that aside, and we'll go to the bottom of the box. So let's pull those out. So I put them in different sections so I know which one's which. So what we want to do first is to take these, make sure they're folded like this. So you want to fold them all. Fold the tabs, and then we're going to glue them together. So if you've never done anything like this, and I always assume I have at least one beginner watching this. If you're familiar with this, and of course you can just move along. But what we want to do, we're going to glue these together like that. So what I would say for this one, let's start at the flat edge at the top. And we're going to add glue. I'm going to start slow. So we're going to add glue to that first tab so we can anchor it. So I'm just going to line this up. So I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold. And I kind of use my thumb to find out, you can finger or thumb to make sure that it's lined up properly. And it's lined up at the top. Because that's where it'll be noticeable if we're not lined up. So what we're doing is anchoring that first piece so we can get it set in the right place, and then we'll go ahead and add the rest. So you could do them all at once, and I'm going to do them all at once, or do partials. So the next one I'll show you with if you do it partially. So now we have glue on all of those. I'm just going to go tab by tab. So I'm going to line it up, the edge up to this little tab fold. I'm just going to make sure that it lines up best as I can with my thumb, and then continue down. So you want to go in order from top to bottom, wherever you started. So if you started at the bottom, go to top. But if you start at the bottom, just be careful, because if you're a little bit off at the bottom, the top's going to be visible if it's not lined up. So that's why I say start there. So you want to move it around in your hand to make sure it's comfortable. And I know how long it takes for my glue to dry, so it's easy for me to know how long I have to hold it. So that's just getting to know your glue. See if you can see that right there. So the second one, I'll show you if you want to go a little slower. First anchor the first one still. And as you do this, it becomes so much easier. So when we have these little fold scores in here, it makes it easier to put together. If it were just rounded, it'd be, without scores, it would be much harder to put together. But we're going to cover those with panels anyways. So that wasn't quite as perfect as I like, but it's okay. And show you that it's okay to make, little mistakes. So I'm going to just do 3 tabs, so you can see if you just want to do 3 at a time just to get used to it. Put 3. Still start from where you started. So I'll start at the top. And then I go like that. And then the 3rd one there. So once you get through, so I'm just making sure lined up, you could go inside and get the remaining tabs. So that's how you can slow it down if for some reason your glue is drying on you. So I used to use Scotch Quick Dry, and I'm such a slow crafter. I mean, I've gotten faster, fortunately, just because I do a lot of these now. But I was such a slow crafter. But by the time I get a couple tabs in, my Scotch Quick Dry would be dry. So it is Quick Dry. So it's one of the reasons why I don't use that anymore. It really is just the way that it works for me. It's still a good glue in my opinion, but I prefer either Barely Art or Art Glitter. And I almost exclusively use American Crafts textured cardstock. So if you want to do these all at once too, it is possible once you get really comfortable. And if you're fast enough, if your glue doesn't dry on you. So I still anchor in the first one, but it's gotten easier for me because of repetitive, because I do it a lot now. So, and this is not an uncommon way to put things together that are say polygonal or circular. Some people are kind of circular, but this is, I could have made 10 sides. The more sides you put on it, the more circular it looks, but I felt like 8 was enough for this particular design. I wanted to keep it in the middle between ultra advanced versus, advanced and tons of work versus kind of the medium. It's round enough. So I'm going to continue putting these on. So there's no, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just going to fast forward through it. And I'll stop when we get to the point where we're putting the last piece on. So I stopped right here and make sure, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The reason I do that is because I have been known to put on one less than I needed to before I closed it up. So good tip. Just a tip for those that might come across this. So let's go ahead and on this last one you can see how you can just continue and it can go underneath. But for this last one, I'm going to add glue to all the tabs, and I do kind of recommend that for this last one. And you can push the other ones in, the middle ones in if you want, so they don't touch the other panel as we're getting these prepped. Gonna spread it apart, get it inside. I'd still start at the top. Fortunately, this doesn't have enough pressure to cause too much trouble, but typically it's the last one that is the hardest one to put on. So So I'll do it at the top and the bottom. You can go from top to bottom, by the way. If it's off just a smidgen, since it's wet glue, it's going to give me a little give, right? So I'm just going to come here and kind of adjust. Make sure it doesn't glue. I got that bottom one off a little bit, so I had to actually just adjust here. So be a little patient on this last one. That's really what I always like to show. This little angle here. Just getting it nice and... So once we put on the panels, I mean, it's like a smidgen off, but it's really not much at all. So you can see why we want to put the panels on, because we don't want to see you can see the tabs through it. You can't really see them in the video, but I can from my angle here. So now we want to put this piece. So we want to take this piece and fold down the edges. Make sure it's the one that says B, has the B cut out. It's the one we want to use. And we can start with the B. We're going to add glue to this tab. Get a good coverage to it. We're going to attach this tab first. So we're going to go ahead and line this up. Oops. Line this up like this. Just one of the sides. Make sure that the tab fold on this flat piece lines up to the top. And even a little bit further down would be good, but we want it lined up. So you can see it's lined up like that. So when I fold it down, it's lined up. Getting these in the angles for videos is always super fun. But this is how we teach you. So now we want to, I'm going to glue it all the way to here. So I'm going to glue one side. So I want to flip them all in. And having done this multiple times, I want to make sure that this works out for you. And the reason we don't put the outside panels on yet is because we may get glue on the outside. So I'm going to fold this up. I'm just going to put glue. Hold this a little bit different. I'm supporting both pieces because I don't want to pull this off the piece. And then once I get further here, I can just add glue. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4 because I want to get to the opposite one that I started with without the glue drying. That's really what my goal is. I could do them all at once, but you can. Okay, so I would do the opposite one first. I'll show you why. I'm going to line it up in that section. I'm pushing it down a little bit and kind of guiding it up to get it lined up with that edge. And you'll have to apply pressure here and in the inside at the same time, okay? So this will be the same on the top as well. So now, I didn't exactly get across from that. Did the wrong one here. So I wanted to go across, but I did the other one. So if you get the one across here and then come in and place these, then it'll be pretty accurate. So we'll do the other side. So, but the bottom line is we're trying to get it set in place. So when you glue that first one, add glue to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on this one, glue that first, and then glue this, and then that and that, okay? I just didn't have it situated when I was gluing it. So I'll show you on the top. But now I can reach in. You could go, you can't really go from the bottom. You could fold them backwards to reach inside the middle. You could fold those really backwards, but this way I can use my fine tip applicator. But if you don't have one, well, which I would highly recommend you having something like this. Oops. I'm just going to put that middle one in first. Just gauge it down a little bit. Guide it down, I mean. Gauge it down. That was and then I don't want glue on the top. Mine down the side a little bit, but so you want to go around, get this glued on the inside. And I did it this way because I've done boxes like this a different way, and when they come together, they don't come together as flush as I like them to. So this is the reason I did it this way. Because there is a different method to do it with tabs and then putting this on the top. But I feel that's bulkier, at least for the boxes I've done. So I'm just going around and applying pressure to those tabs on the inside. See if you can see it. See them right there? So at this point, if you want to put the inside panels on, some people might opt out, but if you want to put the inside in, you want to find the right one. So it's the shorter of the two pieces. So they're the inside, and you can see they're curved. I just curved them like this. And they'll place right like this in here. So wouldn't put the bottom on quite yet, so you can get these in and reach that way. So let me show you. So if I take the top, glue the top and bottom, the back of them. You can start at the bottom or top, it doesn't matter, but we're just going to slide it in to place. I'm going to show you kind of an awkward thing to show on camera. But we slide it up to there in each section. Remember, you want the rounded ones, the ones with the rounded edges for the inside. You can see they're the right size, so you could dry fit it first if you feel more comfortable with that. And then we have that right there. So I'm going to show you the outside, how to put the outside panel on, but then I'll put the rest of them on off camera because it's a pretty repetitive task. So let's get the shorter ones, so make sure we have the right ones. So we want it to angle, so I have to be careful with embossed panels. So I cut them out and then embossed them, but we want to be careful because they could be fragile and crack a little bit depending on it. So that's the shorter one. And put it on the same. So the reason we're doing this before you put that little inside edge in, because we can reach from the bottom right here and we can get in and apply pressure from both sides. It makes it easier. So start from the top edge up here, line it up, and then just roll it down like that. So it'll give it a nice finished look. And I like embossing, but you could use pattern paper. So I'll go ahead and finish these, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I'm doing this last piece. I finished all of them. You can see how good that looks with the inside panel. So I do encourage. It just takes time and patience. Just depends how many you're going to make of these. I mean, if you're just going to make 1 or 2 special ones, I say just make it special. And so I chose, just so you know, how I chose the paper. Knew I wanted this metallic on the outside. So you line it up. So we're doing the last one. I wanted this metallic on the outside, so I just found a yellow cardstock because you don't want to use for the actual assembly of the box part. We need something easier, so we need the cardstock. So I wanted something that matched, so I found this. I think this is butter. This was butter. Just line that up. And so I wanted to make sure it matched. So basically I chose this, and then I chose the inside cardstock color, and then I found that to match with, kind of matches with kind of, it's not metallic, but it's kind of has a gold look. So to match it all together so when it opens. So that's it. See how gorgeous it is with the embossing? So now let's go ahead and add the bottom piece. So there's 2 of them, and remember, you don't want the one with the cutout, with the little cross in it, cross in it, like that one. That's for the top piece. So this is for the bottom piece. So I'm just going to add glue. We're going to put one on the inside and one on the outside to finish the look. And then once those are glued, we can go ahead and add this to hide these tabs and make it a little more stronger. Because I could see you putting, you could put like home baked goods in here, like candy. Like during Christmas, I like doing making toffee. That's what I like to make. It's something I make every year. Or caramel corn. So once I get that set in place, I'm just going to use the table to apply more pressure. So the only thing we have left is to put this little lip on so it'll hold the lid. So we can call it the lid lip. Making sure that's good. So what we want to do is take these 2 pieces, then we're going to go ahead and glue this side piece. So did that backwards there. We want it like this, texture side up. Add glue to this one of these tabs. Line this edge up right up to the tab fold. I know you can't really see it because it's yellow and it's really light, but you can, I'm just going to fold it so you can see. We want to get it as close as possible, and the reason is it can't be, you need to get it as accurate as possible because it'll determine how this fits. So both tabs need to be, so that edge needs to be as close to, not over, but as close to the fold as you can get. So I'm going to flip it over now. Add glue to the other tab. So if you need to fold it first. Make sure that you can see that edge. So when we do glue it together, we're getting this as close as possible. So you can lay this flat. Like that. Just make it lined up at the top. And apply pressure. One thing I didn't tell you, that was my bad. You want to fold it inward like that, but we need to actually have a valley fold on these. So I would say fold it really with a good crease this way. And we're going to fold it, and this is a mountain fold. So we're going to fold it backwards. So now, to fold it backwards, so I should have done it when they weren't glued together. It's my blooper. So I'm pulling them backwards. I'm going to put a crease on him, but I'm just gently pulling him backwards. Sometimes I miss a piece that I should do in order, like this. I have notes, but I didn't write that down. See, notes do save you. So it makes it harder to do this, but I'm going to use my bone folder. So if you have a different way to make it really creased, I'm just going to do it this way. Get a really good crease in it, because it needs to glue underneath this edge right here. So it's okay. It's going to glue like this. So I'm going to just add glue to one tab. So on top, that. Let's see, you can see that glue. We're going to go ahead and glue it under one edge. So what you want to make sure is this one is centered in the section that you choose. So I'm pushing it in and making sure it's lined up, that this inside fold is lined up with this edge, and then I'm applying pressure right here from inside up while I apply pressure here. Trying to think, I think this is pretty much the most difficult part of this particular box, because the top is similar to what we did on the bottom. It's a little bit different, but it's pretty close. So the best, the easiest way, in my opinion, is to glue all these, keep these down. I'll do the method I wanted to do earlier, which I wasn't quite there. So I glued this side. I want to glue this side in. So we'll add glue to these 1, 2, 3, 4. These will have to go inward, so I'm being really careful. I have them sitting there. You don't want to get glue on this edge. I'm going to do them, you can do them all at once, by the way. Let me put the rest of these in. So get all these in, because you don't want them up. So this is the one opposite. I'm going to apply pressure, get it set in place. Then I'm going to take the middle one of the remaining 3. So this would be easy all at once, because then you go around, but it's just a matter if you have enough glue coverage. So you can see I'm going now to the adjacent one. So that's the first one. The second one over here. I did the third one. Now I'm on the fourth one. And the last one. And all I'm making sure is that if you just go in order, sometimes they get off kilter. So if I do the one across from it, it's going to help to avoid that, because we got them set and centered. So the only thing that makes it difficult, I didn't do the last 3. So I'm going to fold them in like that, up, and I can add glue this way. There doesn't have to be a ton of glue on these, but you need to have a good enough coverage to attach them. So you could do them all at once though. So I'm not going to take the center one and fold it backwards. So I'm folding it under. And then fold the other 2 under. But I'm still going to go around, make sure I get this good and secure. So you want to take the time to get these all secure. So you want to go around, make sure none of them have fallen down, and they're all glued up there. So on the lid, we're just going to do this edge, so it won't be the same. So that's what it looks like. So that's the bottom done. So let's move on to the top piece. So we have these and the sides. So we're going to start with that little glue here. Just like they did before, we're going to put these together. So the only difference with this, this is the top, right? This is the, sorry, this is the, I just threw it on myself. This is the top, but this is the part where it'll meet. So it's really important that it match up. So I still would start at that part. Just getting excess glue off. So the same things we did on the top. So this is really repetitive, so I'm not going to go through this whole thing. But it's almost identical. So we're going to line it up. You can anchor one piece and make sure it's lined up right here. And then we can go in and add glue to the rest of them. And just place it in your hand the way it's comfortable. If it's not comfortable the way that you're seeing me do it, flip it around. People that are left-handed need to adjust always, but you need to always move the piece around to make it comfortable for you. So for me, I'll be comfortable here because I'm just lining up, making sure that that edge lines up right here so it doesn't go over. So this is just repetitive, just like the bottom piece. The only difference is we don't have a tab on this, so we have this small tab at the top. Remember I said this it's most important to get it lined up at the edge where the box opens. So on the bottom one it was the top, and on the top one it's at the lid it's on the bottom. So we're starting here as our anchor point. And I usually just push those in so they don't get in my way. So I can get that good and lined up so I can do the rest of it. So if I get that lined up there, when I get to the top, most likely it's going to be lined up well. If it's a little bit off, it's never a big deal because all the things that you do on a box, paper is forgiving. And nothing's perfect. I mean, I'm not perfect. This is engineered, and I'm not as perfect as the cuts that you see. We just do the best we can. We're not machines. So again, if you wanted to do just a couple tabs at a time, you could do that and then go back. So, but depending on your hands, it depends how you want to hold it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. And it closes almost identical. I'll come back to the time where it closes, and then we'll talk about the next step. So once we get to the last piece, just count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I apologize for the noise behind, but it looks like we're getting too hot and AC's kicking in a lot more. But we're going to go ahead and just line these up. So I'm going to start at the top this time. Get it lined up well. Come down for a minute. Then I'll go and line it up there so my AC just went off. So I wish I could do these without it, but it's just too hot. As it is, I turned it up to 80 so I could get through these videos, but can't let the house warm up in these 100-degree weather. So that's the top. So we're going to do the same thing what we did before, is putting this in. So it'll be the same. But before we do that, we want to put this piece in. So right here, we want to fold it like this. This will be for the cap. So we're going to go ahead and fold it this way and then fold it backwards, just like we did the little lip for the lid. So as I didn't demonstrate earlier, when you're folding it back, you can get a little bit more crease with a tool like this. This is the bone folder. It's good on paper, so that's why I use it. But we're going to fold it down again. I'm just pre-training it because we're going to glue it to the inside here. So we're going to go ahead and fold this over. And glue to this edge. Fold it over. Line up this edge to the tab fold. It was a little bit off when it lined up at the top. It's not that, it doesn't make a huge difference because we're going to slide this piece over. So I just wanted to make sure that it's good. You don't want it bigger. You want to be able, it's going to be really snug when it slides over. So now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to push all these in, except for the one that I'm going to glue to anchor it on. So I'm just going to take this piece, just one tab. I'm just going to line it up with one of the edges, like that. So make sure that it lines up in the section before you start putting a whole lot of pressure. And then apply pressure. So that's what it looks like on the inside. See this tab right there? At the right angle. So now after we get that set in place, and I'm still holding it, I'm going to squish all these in there. I'm going to do the one across. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the one across from the one that I anchored. And I'm going to fold it back, and I'm going to make sure that this edge is aligned to the inside fold there. Because you can see that's a little above it, but we'll adjust that as we glue each tab. I'm just kind of pushing my fingers up there. So it got cut off for a second there. So we did the 3, so we're going to do the remaining 3. My battery went dead because I'm having to work around this air conditioning. I know people that watch these videos go, I don't want to hear about what it's like to work, but when you work at home and it's super hot, that's the way it is. So just make sure that's good and glued. And then we can go ahead and add this. So we want to fold those down. Remember, we want the one, we did the bottom first, but the one for the top has a T in it, like that. So it doesn't matter which tab you start with. I just start with the one with the T and the B. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the bottom. We don't want to put the inside panels because we still want to hide this tab, and that's the reason why we're doing this first. So we're just going to line this up. So I'm lining this edge up to the fold here, making sure it's centered. So that's the most important placement. You can go from left, go like that. And as I tried to show you on the bottom box, which I wasn't as successful the first time, let's fold those in. I'm going to add glue this time to all of them at once. So when I go back to the original tab, so you can do them all at once, just rotating it. Just make sure you have a good glue coverage, because you don't want to get the last tab and it be dry. So just getting that last one, so we'll glue on the top. So I'm just going to go back to the first ones, make sure that the glue hasn't been drying and it's good coverage. So now I'm just going to flip them in. They're all flipped in already. I'm just carefully guiding them inward. Yes, I'm getting glue on my fingertips. So I started there, so I'm going to go ahead and apply pressure to one across from it. And we don't want these to dry, so I'm going really quickly. Then I skipped 2 over to get them the next one over here. So those are not glued yet. Then I'm going to go back here because this is starting to dry a little bit. Get it aligned. So this is what it looks like if you do them all at once. So this may not be something you want to do, but just to give you an idea of it can be done all at once. I did kind of skew that top a little bit. But now I'm going around and making sure they're down enough because I don't want that edge over the lip. And if it's down below the edge a little bit, that's okay. So if there's not enough glue for certain areas, so I'm getting a piece of scrapbook paper. So I see a little gap right here. Just get a little glue in there and then apply pressure. So you can do that. So I had a little pinch there, but that's okay. So now this is what it looks like. Basically, it's ready to go. It's still going to be a little tight because I want it to be a little tight. So they go together. So right there. So now, just like we did the top, we don't want to add this part yet. We want to go ahead and, I would suggest doing the inside first. You're going to put the inside panels. So you can't reach in from that middle anymore. It's not the same, but we couldn't put them on until we put that piece on. So I just kind of reach in there. Nothing's perfect, so I just kind of drop it in. And then you could potentially get your finger in there. But so we're going to go ahead and add all those. And then the same thing with the outside. So I'll just show you one of the outside. You kind of want to curl them already, pre-curl them. And then we'll glue them here. I'm just going to start with the same one. So line it up at the top, just like you did the bottom part. And just get it nice and glued here. You can I'm only adding glue at the top and the bottom. And once I have that in place, I can just fold that down. Get that in place here. The nice part is if it doesn't, I forgot to put glue there. If it doesn't, we're going to kind of pull it around and get it close to the edge. But when we put that top cap on, it should kind of come over the edge of that. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting these on, and then we're almost finished. We just have a couple things to do after that. So go ahead and put the rest of these on, and then next step is to put this and the cap on. So here's another way of putting the inside panels in. You can go ahead and add glue to the top and bottom inside and just drop them in. That way you don't have to worry about getting glue on that top edge. We haven't put the outside panels on yet, so that wouldn't be an issue. But that's one issue, and you can still reach into the opening. And if you do like this project or any of our projects, if you could just give us a little thumbs up on the video and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. And if you click that little notification bell to the right, you'll be notified when we have new projects. And you can see you can put glue on the actual box as well to put the outside panel. And just make sure you line it up at the bottom of the lid of the box to line it up, and then to the top. So now that we have them all out, so that's what it looks like. So we have this, you can see it's coming together. And if you wanted, you could always ink the edges with like a gold ink if you have like gold, but I don't know, I think it looks fine the way it is. Let's go ahead and just put this upside down. We're going to add this so it'll hide the inside. So when we put this on, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I'm just going to make it consistent. So you can omit this if you wanted to, because all this is going to be is like that. So if you don't care that it looks like that, then that's okay. So just to glue this on, just going to go around the edge. So I'm gluing on the side that I put the pen, keeping the textured side up of this cardstock. And I don't have really a guide for you to put in there. You can go a little bit more. It's not going to touch everything because of the shape down there. But just kind of line it down toward the center. Then once you get it, you'll kind of see that it goes in place. Then you can apply pressure around the edges. So, like I said, because of the shape of the bottom, this is not necessarily going to stay in place. And it does work. It's just I'm not holding it right. Or I didn't put enough glue. See, the glue's already dried. This weather is just not conducive to crafting right now. I don't want to get glue on the outside, so I'm being super careful. So as I'm rotating, I didn't get it exactly in place, so maybe not the best idea. But it does cover that hole, makes it consistent. Just make sure those edges are kind of line up with each edge, and I just didn't get it high enough on this side. But you want to just, I'm putting pressure on the other side. Just get these edges glued down. But it makes it consistent looking. I just wanted one big piece up there, just like that. I was doubting myself when I was doing that, but I'm like, I tested that several times. So the last part, I want to get glue off my fingertips, so I'm just going to wipe my fingertips off with this. So we need to handle this. So if you can see, we have these little bottom edges right here. Let's go ahead. I don't want this to dry up on me in the last part of the video. So I'm just going to come down here and I'm just going to pull those gently out, like you see happening on an ornament. Just pull them out just a little bit so they'll flare out once I put this over the top. So I didn't really want to score there, but if you just kind of gently pull them out. And then we'll add a little glue inside. You want to do it on here. So I made it tight enough so when it goes down, it should adhere. So I would start with the part where the tab is. So there's a tab right there. The reason in that's going to be the hardest part to put on. I'm just going to go like this, line it up. Try to not to push this. But we're going to gently guide that down as far as you can go. And that's, so it'll look like that. You can see it. So that finishes it. You can always put a little tag just tie it around, something like that. And here, let's go ahead and put it together. Like that. So it's a little bit, it lifts a little bit. That's where it comes to, if you put this down, further down you get there, the more it'll be flush to it. And you can actually play around with that by just kind of bending that down. Just giving you an idea that you can somewhat adjust it. But it's all about how you put it here. So you can adjust it a little bit if you don't like it kind of bowing too much. And let's see if that helped. Don't have it all the way on. There we go. That's it. Oops. So it helped a little bit. You could just work on that to get it as close as possible. So it's just a unique gift box. I think it would be fun for Christmas. And I hope you enjoyed this project. And I thank you so much for watching.